I think for a lot of us as organisers, you know, we like to control our environment, we like perfection. And, you know, we started by doing everything live, and then of course you have glitches along the way. You know, so for this CPI Exchange event, we're exploring, aren't we? We're playing in a safe environment. So we're doing a pre-record, we're doing pre-record in studio, pre-record in their own home, and then we're going live. Do you see it going more like 80% pre-recorded, 20% live, or how do you see that in the future?
Absolutely, I do, Nikki, because I think that the technology lends itself towards that the better quality content we can create when somebody is comfortable presenting and it's being recorded, it becomes more natural. It can be very intimidating. So to have that pre-recorded element takes that pressure away from the speaker. They're not necessarily worried about the technology anymore because that content can be played out on the platform. But then when it comes to the discussion, they've had their time for panel discussion, they've had their time to prepare, and they're more focused on what the questions are the questions they've created from an audience. And that's really important. The live interactive elements, again, offer the different styles and chances of talking things through. But yes, definitely pre-recorded content and good quality content will be key, because we've got two different audiences. Again, you mentioned it in your intro. We have a live audience virtually who are consuming it live. Some people just want to watch it live, but other people want to watch it back and on demand. So if that content is created professionally, it makes it more engaging. They want to consume it again. So yeah, very much so.
And that leads me into the million-dollar question. And I suppose one of the main purposes of doing this Series 2 of CPI Exchange is to see how can we bridge that gap between the virtual and the hybrid. And, you know, I'm going to be talking to Ben and Mark later on about this as well, but let me ask you as well. So say we have 1,000 delegates who are on the virtual platform and we have 1,000 delegates in the convention centre. What are your thoughts? How do we bridge the gap between both of these? What are the challenges you think we're going to face?
Okay, well, I suppose starting with the infrastructure of the venue, there's challenges, but there's opportunities. And the challenges might be their infrastructure in the venue, that they can allow delegates have so many different things now. Physical delegates, they have smartphones, they have computers, they have watches, they have everything that's consuming bandwidth. But at the same time, we also need bandwidth to be able to send streams out. And again, it's not just a traditional stream. There might be different streams sent out for different audiences. You know, we've worked on events that have been on different time zones and with different languages, so there's interpretation and things like that that need to be considered. Captioning, things like that to different zones and areas. So I suppose the venue needs to have that infrastructure to know that we can do that. But the opportunity within that venue is we're no longer capped by size, you know, and that's massive, you know. And again, we can now play to a worldwide audience. And also with the likes of even breakouts, again, there was an awful lot of space required, physical space required. You and I have spoken before about how differently workshops might be. And again, on a carefully curated agenda, how powerful they can be. You can have more breakouts onto deeper, real specialized subjects that will create real engagement quite differently and in a way that we hadn't thought about. One of the other things is between the physical audience and the virtual audience is there are different requirements. If we're in a large convention center, the sound mix will be different to how we want it to be on a live stream. So there's physical things like that we need to consider, and logistical things, as in before, you know, at the back of a venue you might have seen soundproof interpretation booths. Well, it might be now that we have the technician who's in that booth pre-producing with remote presenters who are going to come on stage, and how they're going to interact and preparing them and saying, okay, 2 minutes, we're going live. It might be that we have two MCs. We might have a physical MC in the room, but an online audience's digestion of that live content is going to need a different approach. So again, it's looking at all the challenges, but again, the opportunities that are there.
Some people have talked about this. It's a bit like the Eurovision. You have the live performance, and then you have the country performance where you have your MC who's talking from a national perspective, but then you have the global stage. So is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
okay.
that's it. It's a very good example. The Eurovision is that you get the commentary of the live event. We also have to understand the challenges that when we get back into the hybrid side of things, with things have to happen on time. Again, there's one thing we've learned with virtual.
Yes.
is that things happen on time. We have to continue that in the hybrid world. There can be no longer, the coffee break ran on a little bit longer, or this, or if it does, we need somebody who's online explaining that, okay, in the next 5 minutes we'll be starting, and things like that, and keeping the online audience engaged. Because again, one of the things you mentioned in your introduction is engagement is key.
Yeah.
When you're watching on a screen, it can be quite difficult. Television productions have so much production value behind them to keep people engaged. We have to recreate that in our hybrid events.
So event producers are key. And I think this is a student of music and love going to concerts, classical concerts. And the conductor is key in putting any concert together. And I think that's going to be the same. Having a conductor for your virtual audience and a conductor for your live audience is very important. So I think in all of our budgets, we need to start including MCs for both. Jason, thank you very much for all of your insight today. We look forward to working with you in the future.
Great. Thanks for having me, Nikki.